playing through this last 2 games. How important is it just to kind of manage things, especially when it comes to the Heat today, especially with Peyton Kershaw? Is there a plan, or is he expected to do a full outing?
One part of it is, I think with Clayton, it should be, it'll be a regular outing, obviously contingent on how he's throwing the baseball. We got Austin in there, just to kind of, Austin's catching 2 at 3, give Will kind of a little bit of a reset, not that he needed it, in his words, but, I just felt that I'll lean on him this next couple series, and just kind of keeping guys off the field, which I think we've done a good job of, and hopefully this Heat, we're almost to the end of it, but I feel good with where we're at.
With Chris Taylor, like he's always kind of struck out a lot in his career, but he's not hitting for as much power and kind of stuff like that. Like, what do you see from him, and what do you think have been the result of kind of the struggle that he's had here in the last couple of weeks?
Yeah, he's trying to work through some things mechanically. There's always been a lot of swing and miss in his game, but you can kind of reconcile that with some hard contact, some slug. We haven't seen that. He's an easy guy to bet on as far as preparation, desire to compete, winning player. So I'm trying to pick spots for him to get untracked, but also give him opportunities to work through some mechanical things. So I want to continue to run him out there, but there's other guys out there or on our roster that continue to need opportunities as well. So it's kind of trying to balance all that, but our hope, our expectation that he's going to kind of find his way through it.
How close are you to that point where you sort of like have to make those sort of tough decisions with a guy like Chris? Because I know even last year when he was sort of definitely on the stretch, you sat him during the wild card game. When do you sort of have to get to that point with certain guys?
We're not there yet. I think there's enough season, enough games for guys to kind of find their way. So yeah, I'm not even at that point.
There's knowing where you are.
You have to make that kind of evaluation.
I think, it just, with Cody, kind of, with Chris, it's different in the sense of, how they are performing in the sense of the swing and miss, the strikeout versus the quality of contact. There's some different layers, but they're both working to try to work through it, to find some semblance of consistency. So is Cody in that same bucket? I mean, I think it's every day I'm evaluating, and I think we have a lot of good options, but I'm not ready to make a decision yet. So my job is to continue to run these guys out there and give them opportunities to ultimately figure out how we're going to deploy and use guys.
When we talked to you about Chris Taylor in Miami, you used the word alarming for his strikeout rate and swing and miss. What word would you use for what we're seeing from Cody at the plate?
Well, I will say this, is in the last 10 days, he's been taking walks, which is a positive. I think as far as getting hits, yeah, he hasn't been getting hits, he's been getting on base, and I would say that kind of an adjective, I'm at a loss right now for that. But I'm still hopeful that he's going to find his way through this one.
You don't consider it alarming?
No, I don't consider it alarming because I still think that there's contact in there. Certainly surprised at the length of the struggle as far as where he's been, and you're looking at a big, period of time. So I wouldn't say alarming is the descriptor.
Dave, knowing where you are in the standings, how do you manage the workload of your pitchers?
They're all different. If we can take an inning away from the starter at a certain point, we'll do that. Yesterday we got through 7 with Tyler because it made sense. If a guy in the bullpen, we have a few guys today that are not going to pitch, and I think that they're not going to pitch. They're down, so that's managing their workload. So every pitcher's different, but I think that I'm very mindful right now where we're at in the division that their health is most important.
Dave, I know you just kind of mentioned perplexed when you were talking about Cody Bellinger, but is there something that you're seeing, just considering it feels like, well, yes, the consistency hasn't been there, but there have been spurts in which you kind of felt like he was connecting and kind of like in a really good spot, and then it's just not sticking with that. I guess, is there anything that you can point to that you're seeing as to why there is that kind of ups and
That's the thing. That's kind of the tough thing to kind of figure out, because, you know, 2 nights ago he had 3 walks, got on base 3 times. The other night, I think he went 0 for 2 yesterday with a walk and scalded a ball to the first baseman. That could have been a good night with a walk. So he didn't get a hit, but he got on base and squared the ball up and just missed the ball. So for me to try to reconcile just by the numbers, it's harder, because I see better at bat quality. I thought he got rung up on a pitch that was, you know, significantly outside, so that was a strikeout last night. So for me, the eye test, he's passing the eye test right now. So I think for me, that's important.
Dave, from kind of your experience when you're kind of going through this, like, is it better to get a runway of games and just kind of like try and look in game action, or is it better to maybe take a couple of days and like
For who?
like just for Cody and Chris when the guys going like that? Like, is it better? Like, what's kind of like how do you balance that aspect of it? Like, not even working on the case with the hitting guys, but also hitting.
I just think that where we're at right now, we don't have time to take 3 or 4 days off to reset. I think the reset window is passed. Guys have got to perform, and so with that, they've got to play. They want to play, but as far as the playing time, other guys deserve the opportunity to play as well. So that's where they're trying to balance the playing time for everyone that's worthy, and other guys that need it to get untracked kind of comes into play.
I know you said Chris hadn't really played with the elbow recently, but is there any chance the elbow or the foot or anything like that?
There's absolutely a chance, but we're not going to get it from Chris. He will not divulge any semblance of an excuse.
Dave, kind of along the balancing act, do you want to give Blake like back-to-backs? Do you prefer to give him, the time off to balance the health aspect of it? Like, how do you kind of handle his?
Yeah, we're going to give Blake, we're going to. He's down today, so he'll be ready to go on Friday. But at some point, I mean, I can easily see 2 times we do back-to-back to get ready, yeah.
Usually, right, a team has the biggest lead as yours, right, in the standings. You're kind of able to, okay, well, let's start lining things up for the playoffs, right? That said, though, especially on the pitching side right now, does it feel like, between actually how many arms you have and also kind of all the injury stuff, that there's actually kind of like a lot of uncertainty still, maybe a lot of decisions that you're going to have to make, between now and October?
Absolutely. Absolutely. You're looking at right now 28 guys on a roster. We've got a couple guys coming back. So you're trying to figure out how to essentially put 32 guys in 26 spots on a roster. So I'm not concerned about that right now. It's not as clear as in past years, but this is honestly, Dylan, this team is it's on a mission. This team is on a mission, and I don't think that we care how we plug in the pieces. It's not going to change, our focus and our goal.
I mean, given, how you guys have performed up to this point, right? Obviously, there's the expectation of a championship and stuff. I mean, as you look at the decisions that you have to make, how are you kind of, I don't know, do you feel pressure over that? I mean, how do you, I guess how is that also, that process have evolved over the years? Obviously, you've been at this for a while now.
I wouldn't say pressure. I try to kick the can as long as we can as far as those decisions, because there's nothing we can do right now. But as we get on, there's going to be some tough conversations, and that's what happens when you have a lot of good players. So definitely not prepared right now or wanting to kind of go there in my mind, but it's a byproduct of having a lot of good players.
I know you described these decisions in the past, right, as a kind of a collective
Sure,
type thing.
absolutely.
That said, you're like the face
Yeah.
of that decision, and, right, if something were to go wrong, you're gonna probably take a lot of the blame for that.
Totally fair.
How have you kind of learned to accept that over the years, and, you know, have your feelings about it kind of changed? You know, I assume at the beginning it probably bothered you more than, say, it did.
It certainly bothered me more early in my tenure than it does now. And I think that people that are most critical certainly are reactionary, and they don't have all the information, which is intentional. So I'm very sympathetic towards the responses. I know that no one wants to win more than me and the people that I work with. So, you know, that's kind of solace, and it's easier to kind of manage the blame or criticism that I get every day.
You know, this year it seems like a team, right? I mean, maybe 17 was maybe a little bit like this, 20 was obviously kind of like that, where this team, it feels like, okay, this team's a little bit, right, even though you guys have good teams every year, okay, this one might be a little bit better than a lot of the teams you have, and, right, it's, I mean, you know, as a whole.
It's you know what, I think it's how you look at it. I mean, I think that, you know, there's some guys that we don't have on the pitching side, you know, so offensively, I think this is the best collection of talent we've had offensively. But again, I do think that the arms that we can put together collectively will prevent runs. But to say one team is better than the other, that's a tougher debate for me.
Yeah, well, I guess my thing was kind of more that I think a lot of people are going to look at this team and think, right, okay, now they're the clear favorites to win the championship type thing, right? And so anything short of that, you know, whereas like last year, it's like, okay, yeah, they have a really good chance, but, you know, this team also did. Whereas I think kind of this year, you know, at least like around town, I think there's a different feel, right? That there's, okay, they're going to do it this year. And so you're starting off at a, you know, right, that's the starting point, basically.
Yeah, that's right.
And I just kind of, again,
I just don't think that that's changed from 18 and beyond. I mean, 17 and beyond. I don't think that the expectation from people for us to win the World Series or it's a lost season, I don't think that has changed. I really don't. You can debate the talent, but I think that, you know, that's what we hear from day one of spring training and all throughout the year.
Have you put, you know, when we talk about like the options that you have, especially right again in numbers, right? There's going to be, you know, obviously that's also more room for second guessing in a way, right? They're going to be guys that don't even make the roster, and if something doesn't work out, people are going to be questioning, you know, did this, right? Maybe this guy could have done it, whatever.
That's right.
How, with you personally, how good are you at just about kind of like letting, you know, that was a decision, and just kind of
I'm very good at it, because I think that with our organization, with our players, we don't have the luxury of when something doesn't go well to second guess it. You know, it's a real time, game time, in the moment decision, whether who I decide to play, who I decide to pitch, and it's either going to work or it's not going to work. We're either going to win or we're going to lose, and I'm at the point where I believe in the process and the people that I work with.
No, that said, when it doesn't work, it could also be looked at as like a potential learning opportunity too, right? I mean, so where's, I guess, that balance of.
You know what? I think that's fair, Dylan. But I think that the learning opportunity, if the process is sound and we believe in how a decision that I ultimately make that comes together with a lot of different conversations, and it doesn't work out, I just still don't believe that that's the wrong decision. Yeah.
You know, players talk about, right, as they've been in the major leagues longer, that the game kind of slows down.
Yeah.
I'm just kind of wondering here, right, now you're kind of weeks away from the postseason starting. Does your sense of time, or how, right, this approach, does this feel different, I guess, than it did when you were starting out?
It does. I just don't, I think that as you kind of do things more, there's less unknowns. So I think that takes away some of the, I don't want to say anxiety, but just some of, I guess, unknown. And so it does slow down more. And for me, I've grown as a manager. I think our players that I've had for 7 years have grown. with baseball ops, I think we've grown together, which has been unbelievable as far as the knowledge, the trust between both. So I think we do it better than anybody in baseball. I mean, people can argue that we make a lot of decisions. We make wrong decisions, I'm sure, every day. But as long as we're aligned, I think that we're going to hit more than we're going to miss.
Are you a scoreboard watcher? Like the Mets Braves thing?
First sport, but I don't really put too much into it because it changes day to day. I think I'm a sports fan. So to watch and see the Yankees and how they're going and to see the Mets and see what the Braves are doing, I watch, yeah. I like to be in tune.